Welcome back to Let's Talk Adoption. You are listening to the final episode of our Wait What? Unexpected Things in Adoption series. And we've talked about a lot of different things, Kim, in this series.
We've explored wait, what moments and realizations from the adoptive parent's perspective and the adoptee's perspective. And today we are focusing on birth mothers.
Right. And we're going to talk about birth mothers. Some of these things might be before placement, after placement, but overall, we're just going to use the term birth mothers today, understanding that it can be at any part of this journey. I think often we find their voices are many times quiet in the conversation because just of how things proceed, but they are so very essential. It's really important to learn firsthand from women who have made this sacrificial choice for their children and to understand that they will experience a variety of emotions like love, sacrifice, and other probably unexpected feelings. And those pop up in ways that will shape certainly their entire adoption story, but really a big part of the adoption story for everyone involved.
Mm-hmm. And absolutely, Heather, you and I have seen over the years that common theme of love from women who are planning adoption and complete an adoption and just where their hearts are, that sacrificial love they have for a child. You and I have witnessed that for many years. And also there is an aspect of their love that is also letting go. And so their feelings are can be a mix, and this can be a wait, what? It's not all sadness, it's not all joy. The joy part can be a little bit surprising to some birth
Mm-hmm.
moms, but they can describe adoption as a mix of deep love and deep grief, sometimes at the same time. It's a lot.
It is. It is. And it's not uncommon for a mom to say, I loved my child so much that I felt I needed to let go. And it's often a surprise that they are experiencing that bittersweet mix of joy and heartbreak together.
hmm And when Heather and I are, discussing this, we're not here to say that someone loves their child less because they choose to parent,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So don't misunderstand that as you're listening to this, but we are talking about the ones who have chosen adoption and experience this very real, surprising moment inside themselves. The duality can be surprising, even if she's a woman who had thought about adoption for months or years.
And that's really why going through this process for women, the support is vital. Whether that is counseling, well, it definitely should be counseling, supportive friends, supportive community if they have that. Being able to have someone who can walk with a mother through the highs and the lows of this time. And, for many women, they don't have that. They do rely on their adoption professional to walk alongside them, to be there for them, to help direct them to other resources for things they may need as they're walking through this time. But that support is important and also the positive reinforcement to encourage them that this is a brave and loving decision.
hmm And moving forward, even after the adoption, birth mothers are often surprised by how strong their emotions can be, that these can
Hmm.
resurface long after the adoption is finalized. And Heather, this is why I remember many years ago when I was first starting to work with, the team in adoption, and we would kind of bristle at the word closure. People
Yes.
expected a woman to have closure over this. And there's just something wrong in that expectation.
right. Because grief can come in waves, and as time passes, those waves might get further and further apart. And then milestones or just things in life might pop up. But maybe, their child's birthday or maybe a holiday or when they, get an update about the child and there's big milestones popping up. Maybe when they get married themselves or have their next child that they choose to parent. Any of those um, occurrences, or really anything, can trigger a, a wave of grief again. It's, there is the normal steps of grief that we're familiar with. And time does help kind of smooth those a little bit, but it definitely does pop back up in the
Mhm.
future.
Right. And closure can be different from acceptance.
Hmm.
Closure can be different from, just, okay, if we think of closure, I think of a book that the final page was written and we close the book and we may even tie a string around it and we
Right.
have closure and there's no looking back, no reason to reopen it. We're moving on, we're starting a fresh book. But that's not the way it actually feels to women
Hmm.
going forward for the rest of their lives. Many women do, it's kind of like a beautiful song that's quietly playing in the background of their heart at all times
Right.
because she is forever changed by this. And no matter what happens to a child, whether you parent or not, you'll always think about that child. And so
Hmm.
there can never truly be closure. There can be joy, seeing their child thrive, like what we talk about in open adoption.
Hmm.
Open adoption isn't there so she can get closure and know she made the right choice. It's so she can always know she made the right choice. It's very affirming. She can see the child growing up, taking his or her first steps, taking, going on their first day of school, their fast forward to their senior prom or making it on the
Hmm.
varsity football team or getting some medals from track. I mean, we get those updates, Heather, from families that we have worked with over the years, and we love seeing that. And if
Hmm.
it means so much to us just as adoption professionals, imagine how much that means and the joy and pride a birth mom must feel being able to see that child thrive and knowing that she played a role in this child's life story and she gets to witness that love continue to grow.
Hmm. Right. And that's what we say about open adoption is even though at the hospital she may be saying goodbye to the child and the adoptive parents that she's chosen and come to know, it's not a forever goodbye. It's an ongoing relationship. So it's much different than the adoptions of the past, and it's much different than the grief in losing a loved one because it is a goodbye for now. But
Mhm.
there is that staying in touch, that bearing witness to um, really the life that they've created for their child through adoption.
Mhm.
You know, this makes me think of the story of Hannah in the Bible. She was Samuel's mother, and she longed for a child and loved Samuel so deeply that she also followed God's leading and chose to place him in service to God. And that decision to her had to bring sorrow. Here, this child she'd prayed for, she was really giving back to God. But also, her faith was so strong that God's plan was good and he had more for her son than she could provide.
Mhm. Yeah, God had a purpose. And we see that too in every connection that
Right.
adoptive parents and birth moms find themselves in as their paths collide
Hmm.
very
Hmm.
intentionally, but everything aligns for that child to be placed into the family God had for them and for that birth mom's heart to be touched,
Hmm.
and to feel that call that her child should be placed with a family that can provide the life that she wants that child to have. And again, we're not saying not choosing this is anything less.
Right.
It's where is the Lord leading you? Where, what choice you make is your choice when it comes to considering adoption. If you've parented, there shouldn't be, you know, um, anything negative about that either.
Hmm.
And another wait what moment is that many people, birth moms and everyone in the world, just really don't know that birth moms can plan the adoption their way.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's something that surprises many birth moms, that
Yeah.
they get to choose exactly how adoption happens. And I was talking with one of our team members, Heather, about, when I was kind of researching a little, like, what are some other wait, what moments that maybe I missed something? And she just reinforced that many women are so surprised that they do get to make any decisions at all in the adoption. They had no idea that's how it could be.
Right. And really that starts at the beginning when someone starts exploring adoption. That's part of the process is learning what her choices are, learning that she can choose and get to know adoptive parents in advance, learning that the type and frequency of ongoing contact after the adoption isn't something that is set for her, that she has an active role in stating what she wants and ensuring that those expectations can be met. She can choose how things go at the hospital. She can see and hold her baby. She can, order newborn photos. She can have that time in the hospital. She has, I don't want to say she has a say. She makes the choices in every step of the process. And like you said, Kim, that is something that is often a real surprise as moms are learning about adoption.
And I will say, on the other side of the coin, that's a wait what moment for a lot of adoptive parents
You
too,
bet. Hmm.
that they don't realize that birth mom really is empowered or should be. You should want to work with an adoption professional that allows a birth mom to make all these choices. This is her right.
Yes.
And anything less than that is, what is it called when you're withholding all the information? You're not being truly transparent with the birth mom. And she will find out later the choices
Mm-hmm.
that she could have had. And we've even talked with women over the years that maybe they chose to work with our team instead,
Hmm.
this time around for their next adoption after realizing that the way their first adoption went could have been so
Been
different.
different.
Yeah. And we know that really putting the birth mom in the driver's seat with how her adoption goes, that she gets to shape every moment. Of course, life can happen, right? Hospital policy, medical things can pop up,
Right.
birthing plans can change.
Hmm.
She can make a hospital plan, but her situation might change that. But she gets to plan these things and make all these choices, and that being able to make all those little choices along the way provides such a sense of empowerment and comfort and a greater sense of satisfaction with the entire adoption, knowing she got to plan the experience rather than feeling like it was happening to her.
Right. Right. And that is really, really important. Um, and for me, on a personal note, that's one of the things that drives me is ensuring that women who are making pregnancy decisions today have this information, that they know the choices they can make. Because, you know, like you said, Kim, knowing that they can do that, knowing that it can be and should be an intentional plan, it really helps them make informed decisions about their pregnancies. So, another wait, what moment for I would say most of the moms we talk to is finding out that the father of their baby has a voice in this too. no matter the circumstances. Even if they aren't together, um, most fathers can be part of the adoption planning. And that is because that fathers have parental rights equal to those of the mother. And this is really hard for a lot of moms to comprehend, especially for men who aren't good guys, haven't stuck around, um, have told them, do what you want, I don't care. That's really hard when they find out that he still has rights. He's not the one pregnant. He's not the one going through this. But in most states, the man will have rights, and every state's different.
Hmm.
And that's why it's so important to use a qualified adoption attorney who can help walk that through us, help us walk through that. But for the fathers that are involved, they definitely can be a part of the adoption planning. They can have, even if the father and the mother are not together, they don't have an ongoing, relationship, they can still both talk to adoptive parents. They can coordinate on choosing the family. He can have his own ongoing relationship after the adoption. But it is one of those things, again, that women are just many times surprised and often disappointed to discover.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, we've had many times over the years where a woman has said, "Well, why do I need to involve him? We're not together anymore. He's he's not in the picture anymore." Or, "Well, he's incarcerated." But he can still play a role in
Yep.
planning an adoption, and he could still choose to retain his parental rights. Let's say his mom wants to take care of the baby.
Hmm.
He has those parental rights. And we're talking about, private adoption
Yes.
within the US, private domestic adoption here in these wait what moments.
Hmm.
One of the biggest surprises for birth mothers is the comfort that comes from open adoption, even just receiving letters, photos, or little updates. Heather, you and I have both talked to women that, I mean, in the first 30 seconds of a call, she could say, "But I don't want to keep in touch with the family. I think it'll be too hard."
Hmm.
Right?
Yes. And then they often, when that time comes, even for moms who say that, I don't want to keep in touch, it'll be too hard. Okay, no problem. But then after that baby's born, often they find their heart feels a little differently. They do want that connection. And they find those updates as, for them, I will say, probably unexpectedly joyful. It is a firsthand way to witness their child's life without being in that day to day. They still feel connected, but it's more of a arm's length connection. And I mean, so many times, Kim, I've heard that brings me such peace. They say things like, I don't have to wonder if I did the right thing. I know I did. I can see that I did. And, for women who struggle with any number of things, whether it is mental illness, whether it is stability, um, whether, they just struggle with their own demons.
Or even isolation.
Yes, this is a way to get that reassurance that this was a good thing. This
Mhm.
was I've had women tell me that this was the first thing they ever followed through with. And they feel accomplished because of it. And it's not only seeing their child growing up happy and healthy, it's also that relationship with the adoptive parents that can be very validating, especially for women who struggle. You mentioned isolation. A lot of women don't have that supportive families that many of us are blessed with. And so to have kind of this extended type of family feeling from a child's adoptive parents can make such a difference in the life of someone who has felt alone or felt rejected.
And there are many adoptive parents that I speak with that hope that a birth mom will want to have an ongoing connection. And
Mhm.
they're even prepared to, I want to say this in the right way, but sort of mentor her,
Mhm. Mhm.
understanding that she may never have witnessed a healthy marriage, a healthy home
Mhm.
life. She might not have any idea of what life can really actually in real life be like authentically,
Right.
and they're prepared to share their faith with
Mhm.
her, and that
Mhm.
they're not assuming she's not a Christian, right?
Right.
But they're wanting to help draw her closer to the Lord,
Mhm.
model that, and provide that support for her. And another factor is that birth moms often say how inspired going through the adoption has become for them. That not only does getting the updates show her that everything she went through means something, like there's a little person who becomes a very big, strapping teenage boy one day, or a beautiful young lady one day, that her sacrifice and the pain that she went through, not just emotionally, but physically, that and also maybe some of the social stigma and misunderstanding, which we'll get into in a moment, that it all was for something, that
Right.
she stayed the course in what she knew was right in her heart for herself and that child, and that it meant something. And even if she never had a positive role model in her life, now she wants to make choices. And this isn't everyone, but many birth moms share that I wanted to then, further my education, or I wanted to become a homeowner. I wanted to have a successful marriage because I wanted my birth child to feel proud of me.
Mhm.
They have a reason now, they have a why. It's so
Absolutely.
powerful. That connection is so powerful.
If you're pregnant and wondering what your options really are, or if you know someone who is, I want to tell you about a book that's helped so many women sort through their thoughts and feelings. It's called So I Was Thinking About Adoption. It's honest, compassionate, and written just for women who are facing an unexpected pregnancy and want to understand what adoption could look like for them. There's no pressure, just real information and encouragement from someone who's walked this road with thousands of women. You can get So I Was Thinking About Adoption on Amazon or download it for free at freeadoptionbook.com. And then when you continue that conversation, what we also learn is we find more about what birth parents wish that other people understood. And one of the things we hear the most is I wish people understood that adoption isn't giving up. You know, when when we give up on something, it's easy. It's easy to give up. Whether you're giving up on that diet and the exercise routine, you're giving up on that craft you started that you just are not happy with the result. Those things are easy. It's easy to give up. Adoption isn't easy. And it is about giving life. It's about giving love. It's about giving opportunity. And many of these moms, they are giving what they wished not only that they could give to their child, but they wish they themselves had.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, anyone who thinks adoption is giving up, please, if you learn nothing else today, learn this. Adoption is certainly not giving up. It is giving so much more.
It's super intentional.
Mhm.
We use the word sacrificial a lot, and it makes me misty whenever we
Mhm.
talk about that, because sacrificial love is one of the most powerful things known to humankind. That
Mhm.
someone would lay down their life for someone else, that, as we say often, she to help families really understand adoptive parents who maybe are skeptical of birth moms. And not every birth mom falls into every stereotype. We have had a birth
Definitely.
mom that becoming a doctor ran in her family, and she knew that parenting this baby right now would mean that totally derails her legacy of
Mhm.
becoming a doctor.
Mhm.
Um, but that sacrificial love is something that we talk about often because it's important to understand that a birth mother breaks her own heart to provide a better future for her child. And yeah, they wish people understood the courage. It's not a lack of courage. She's not
Mhm.
necessarily choosing adoption because she's afraid to be a mom or not ready to be a mom. She can get the things and do the things to be a mom, but she wants a different life for that child.
Mhm.
We had an adoption where the birth grandmother found out about her daughter's pregnant. Her daughter was a full grown woman, right? In her 20s, I think. And suddenly the birth grandmother got wind that, well, I think so here's what happened. The birth mom had received a photo. And by the way, at first she didn't want updates, but we were able to leave that door open. And then she admitted, okay, I would love to. Well, she came around to it. I would love to get a photo if the family's willing still. And of course they were. And then she was so proud of that baby. She shared it with her mother, birth grandmother. Birth grandmother had not even known her daughter was pregnant, or much less that an adoption had taken place, and wanted to rush in and rescue her daughter from having to make such a choice. This story has so many important lessons in it. One of the things was, Mom, I don't want you to raise this child as my sibling. That's not the life I want for myself or this child. And Mom, I planned this on purpose. Nobody talked me into this or pressured me into this. And Mom, the last thing I'm going to do is tear this child away from the only family she's ever known.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
when her mom understood those things, she suddenly became the biggest cheerleader. She was
Right.
on board, right? She
Mhm.
understood the courage it took for her daughter to do all this and all the things that her daughter had thought about.
Mhm. Mhm. And that support matters. Sometimes moms are putting those tough positions where they have to explain like this one did to the support people in her life. But, you know, that support can be so important. Sometimes it is the birth father, sometimes it's parents, sometimes it's friends. You just never know, but it is so important. Kim, you mentioned a mom who wanted to be a physician. One of the surprising things we do hear from birth mothers is many of them who are interested in pursuing education, they want to be a social worker. They want to work in adoption. They want to help people like the people who helped them. And
Hmm.
that means so much when you learn that you made such a difference in someone's life that they want to take that experience and go help others do the same thing.
Yeah, or we had the birth mom who wanted to become an attorney,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Same
so
thing. Yeah.
amazing.
So let's shift gears here and talk a little bit about stereotypes.
Mm.
Um, because I think that is one of the biggest surprises we also hear from birth moms is the amount of courage that it takes to choose adoption, especially when society has so many assumptions still about adoption and about women who choose adoption.
Right. And this is why we have to make sure that we are really getting the message out about positive adoption language, because saying that someone gave up her child couldn't be further from the truth. She placed her baby. She made an adoption plan. If she gave up, I mean, I hope you're getting the theme here. That is, couldn't be further from the truth. And there's a stereotype that women who choose adoption are just irresponsible.
Yeah.
And sometimes what people will really say to me during conference calls is, well, how'd she end up in this position in the first place?
Right.
Obviously, she doesn't make good choices. And I will say to them, you and I are only one or two catastrophic events from having to make the same exact choice.
Mhm.
And so I hope that we're conveying that, the stereotypes, the reality couldn't be further from the stereotypes in many cases. Now, stereotypes are there for a reason, right? Because that's the simple, straightforward story people tell, but it glosses over a lot of details. It
Mm-hmm.
glosses over the humanity of a birth mom and where her heart truly was. And day to day, as she realized a baby was growing inside of her and thinking, inevitably, this baby is coming into this world. And what life do I want this child to have?
Mm-hmm.
She's
Mm-hmm.
so responsible.
Right. And I think, you know, I met someone yesterday, Kim, and I was sharing a little bit about what I did, and he asked me something that's right along this line. He said, "Oh, are most of these pregnancies like oops?" And I answered kindly and compassionately, but I got to thinking, you know, so many pregnancies might be an oops that don't end in adoption. I mean that happen within marriages of couples who thought they were done, or who didn't really plan to get pregnant just yet, or you know it is it's back to that stereotype. I think, one of the stereotypes I hear a lot is people assuming that most birth mothers are teenagers who made a mistake with their boyfriend. And it's like, nope, nope, that's a stereotype. But the reality is that, most birth mothers who make an adoption plan, they do make that out of love, thoughtfulness, intention, selflessness. Um, they ask, what's the best life I can help my child have. Certainly, there are situations, and I actually was just helping with one where a mom went to the hospital with a stomach ache and delivered a 30-week along baby. It Denial is something that's very strong too. She had no idea she was pregnant, or she didn't have any confirmation she was pregnant, might be a better way to say it. But, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, I love that you said stereotypes are there for a reason, but it's also good to understand the stereotypes we may have and believe may be rooted in historical context that is no longer accurate.
I love the way you put that. And so, another wait, what moment that just popped into my mind is when we share a story like that. Oh, she didn't know she was pregnant. People are like, what? Wait, what? How? Or
Yeah.
she hid her pregnancy.
Hmm.
Nobody knows she's pregnant. Her
Hmm.
pregnancy and her adoption plan are confidential.
Hmm.
Um, People go, wait, what? Well, first of all, how could she not know? Not everyone has a monthly cycle. Let's just talk
Hmm.
about it. Real talk here. So many women these days in this generation of women in their childbearing years have very inconsistent cycles. And life is moving fast, and it could be months
Hmm.
before they realize they've missed their period. But they could also have quote unquote air quotes here periods
Right.
while even being pregnant. They can spot a little, and so they just think, oh, well, that was my period, you know. But
Hmm.
also, how could she hide a pregnancy? Well, hey, if you live in North Dakota and you got pregnant, let's say in the spring, imagine when you are full term, you're all bundled up. You're not going anywhere. People don't see you. And if you have a little extra padding on your body on the regular, maybe you have an extra 20, 30 pounds normally anyway, maybe that extra little 10 or 20 from a baby in a pregnancy wouldn't be that noticeable, especially under all the layers of coat, scarf, sweater, long johns,
Hmm.
and the fact that you hardly ever see people in the winter. You're
Right.
not as out and about as much. So, yeah, wait, what? It really can happen.
Right.
Mm.
A- And I think, you know, it's just good to realize the stereotypes we may have may be wrong.
Hmm.
I think that kind of just bottom lines it. It's uh especially when we're talking about historical perspective or our own perspective. How could someone not know they're pregnant? That's why I mentioned denial. Denial can be so strong. No,
Hmm.
there's no way I could be pregnant. It must be, fill in the blank, must be
Rationalizing. Hmm.
right, you know? So it really is good to know and understand that birth mothers make adoption decisions for a variety of reasons.
Something
And
I,
go
Heather,
ahead.
something that you educate a lot in the trainings and talks that you give is that, the wait what? Well, she must have been a pretty bad mom if she couldn't take care of her baby. And she was like, I need to let someone else take care of my baby and someone else be the mom and dad. She must be a bad mom. But actually, often they are already moms, and you've said they are really good moms.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
what's a good mom? Define it, right? Someone who puts her child's needs first
above her own, right. And
above
that's,
her own.
I'm glad you brought that up. That is one of the big stereotypes that everyone believes about birth moms is that bad moms do adoption. Because what do we see? We see, the foster system removing children from, quote, bad moms who are abusive or neglectful. Absolutely. They're probably not the stellar examples of a great mom. But to even conceive that bad moms choose adoption could not be any further from the truth. It is, and that's why we have said over and over today, you know, women who choose adoption are courageous. They are intentional. They are profoundly loving. And the choice of adoption is an act of hope for their child and for themselves and perhaps for the children they're already parenting, trying to make the best decision they can in the current circumstances they're in with the resources available to them. It is most definitely not bad moms who choose adoption. It is a, a loving, and we've said sacrificial decision.
Hmm. And it's the stereotype has always been it's a teenager who's not ready to be a
Right,
mom.
right.
Well, those teenagers usually do become moms.
Hmm.
Heather, you share all the time. They've got the
They've
family
got
support.
resources. Yeah, yeah. They have the help, they have the support, they have usually stable homes through their parents. Um, those are not often the ones sometimes, but those are primarily again, like you said, that is a stereotype.
And then
So,
fast forward, 5 years,
mhm,
she's a really good mom, but she understands the sacrifice. And she sees a disparity between the life she wants her child to have and the life she's able to provide. So, pregnant
mhm,
again, she may choose adoption the next time around.
yep,
Both
absolutely.
both are good and loving choices.
Hmm. Hmm.
So another
Absolutely.
another's unexpected, like wait what moment that our team shared with me is that birth moms are actually shocked to find out they could actually find the right family. Surprised that the right family was out there.
Right. And I think that has to do with um, being able to have a choice of families. Through adoption agencies, you can share your hopes for adoptive parents, whether that's a geographical location or a specific faith. Maybe it's education, stay at home parents, choice of pets, if there's other children in the family, and the race of the family, and so much more. And so when moms are able to express, okay, yeah, this is kind of what I'm looking for, and then choose from a variety of families who fit the boxes she's looking for, it can really be a surprise because I think that other side of stereotypes we were just talking about, Kim, is that, sometimes we have a stereotype of what the typical adoptive parents look like. And it's going to be based on what our personal experience is, or from a historical perspective, what we've seen in media. So it definitely
Can I
can.
put
Yeah,
a picture to that?
sure.
Okay, to me, when you say like in the media and historically, how do we picture adoptive parents? It's, the movie Annie,
Yes.
when the fake mom and dad show up, they get dressed up, they put on this fake attitude, this really mushy, like idealized who a mom should be, who a dad should be, like persona, and they go to the orphanage to pick up their air quotes little girl, right? I think that's kind of what people might think. And really, adoptive parents are just like anyone else. They all have personalities, interests. And there was a birth mom that she wasn't saying, I need to place my child with a family who has a pit bull dog as a pet, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this was back in the time when it was like polarizing. Should you have a pit
Mm-hmm.
bull? Should they ever be around children? Like, oh, that's just in their temperament. And it's a whole polarizing topic, right? And this was back when that conversation was really loud. And she saw in their profile that they had a pit bull rescue dog. And she said, when I saw that, I just knew that these people were so accepting and non-judgmental. It just showed me something about them, and that's how I felt they were the right family for me to match with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, similarly, I remember a couple I helped many years ago. They were the birth parents. They were married and they had two children, both of whom were in college. And mom thought she was menopausal. Come to find out she was pregnant. And they were very open and honest with us and with their kids and shared that they didn't want to start over and they were considering adoption and they when they came to us they looked at waiting families and they were in their 40s and to our surprise they picked a couple who were in their 20s, which that just seemed a little different. But what they said was so profound. They said, and it was a couple who couldn't biologically have children, and they said they reminded us of us at that age. And it turned out to be this beautiful, ugh, gave me goosebumps telling that, this beautiful open adoption story because they they chose them because there were so many things in common and the age range was about the same as when they were starting out and they just felt a connection, a kinship with them. And like I say, it turned out to be a beautiful adoption. But you really, sometimes for birth parents, they just really don't know what they're looking for until they have the opportunity to see it. And that's why it's important for moms thinking about adoption just to know and understand that there are a wide variety of families out there that they can look
Mhm.
at and consider. And sometimes the right family is what helps a mom make that decision.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned that. And, the original host of this podcast is Marty Caldwell, who founded her own adoption agency many, many years ago. And I just remember through the years her always saying, I want birth moms to truly have a choice. We need
Hmm.
to have a wide variety of families because two or three isn't really a
It's not a
choice.
choice.
It's
No,
not a choice. So
no.
I love how we have that legacy from Marty, and now here we are still today holding those same values.
Right.
And, just to reflect to birth mothers who are listening, your love matters. Your love for this child made all the difference in his or her
Hmm.
life, and your sacrifice matters, and your story matters as well.
You bet. And I think on the same side for adoptive parents, the more you learn and listen and understand a birth mother's perspective, you'll find the deeper understanding you will gain of the love and the courage behind her adoption plan.
Mhm. And to everyone, whether touched by adoption or not, adoption is a journey of relationships full of unexpected emotions, hope, and love that lasts a lifetime, full of wait, what moments, So give grace, allow space for those wait, what moments.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Let's Talk Adoption. If you have any feedback on this episode, we'd love to hear from you. You can write to us at letstalkadoption.com. Please remember to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. We love having you along on this journey with us.